Hi everyone, welcome back to the Academy of God. And today I wanted to share with you a certain dream I received from the Lord. So, in this dream, I was seeing a small city that was near a forest, and I saw a man who was a father, and it seemed that the children in this city, their school was organizing a trip to a certain place. And this day was the day the parents were supposed to drop off their children to the gathering location, the place where they were supposed to gather together in the city, where the buses were gathered to pick up the children. And then I saw this young girl looking around 12, and she was quite pretty, which is an important point, and you'll see later why. So, this young girl went by herself to the gathering location, and her father, who seemed really attached to her, was panicking and started looking for her everywhere, to the point of asking the neighbors where his daughter was, saying that he cannot let her go to the trip because he needs her to spend the night together. And the father looked insane by the way he was talking, and he also looked crazy too, because he was basically admitting publicly that he was a child lover and he wanted to basically do things to his daughter that a father shouldn't. And the people of the city saw that, and they started hunting for that man, to the point of trying to kill him. They wanted to get rid of him because he was a child lover. And that man had to run away from the city, and he went deep in the forest. Now, time some time went by, and I found myself in that forest. So now I was in the dream. I was no longer an observer, and I was in the dream couple of years later after that event happened. So couple of years later, I found myself now participating in the dream, and I was in a team with another guy and another young woman, and we were in this forest, and we were on a mission to destroy inhuman creatures. And in this forest, I looked and I saw this man that had run away from the city years before. And I wondered how he was still alive, how he managed to live all alone all this time in the forest. And then I noticed that he was tied with his hands around his waist. Then the vision zoomed out because I was looking at the man, and then the vision zoomed out, and I noticed that he had been transformed and his size had changed. So physically he became smaller, like his height was less than an inch, as if he was miniaturized, and he was hanging because he had been tied to something above him. And then the vision zoomed out again, and then so I saw the larger picture, and I saw that he was hanging from the left ear of a woman, and he had been tied as if he was an earring. And then the vision moved from the waist of this person to her face, as if panning like in movies. And I saw this woman, and she was the most beautiful woman I ever saw. And around her neck she had a yellow lizard as a pet. And I saw that on top of her beauty, she had this aura of lust around her, And everything about her, every move, every turn, and every gaze inspired lust. Now, this is important because the vision was focusing a lot on this point, on how beautiful and how much of attraction she had on people. And I saw that she was like a world class model. Every angle about her was beautiful. And then I saw and I realized that this young woman was actually the man's daughter who was now grown up. That young girl, that 12 years old, that 12 years old that I spoke about at the start of this dream, it was now her, but years later, and she looked like a woman around her 20s, her early 20s. So it was her. And she was the one who had power over the father. This is why her father was shown as hanging as an earring for her. She was the one in power. And I saw her leaving us, and she was going back deeper in the forest with her father still hanging like an earring on her left ear. And as she was leaving us and walking with such class and this air of beauty around her, the vision went down under her waist, and I saw that she didn't have legs, but instead she had a snake tail, like the man you see on the picture, like this creature you see on the picture. And I understood that this woman wasn't human, and the young girl, the 12-year-old, she was never human. She was always a non-human creature. But it was just now that she was in her true appearance as a snake. And in some culture, these creatures they call them naga. Like in I think it's in India or in Japan, something like that. And this is just one of the many dreams and visions that the Lord has been showing me recently a lot. Like this couple of months, He's been talking a lot about non-humans living among us. They go to school with us. They go to work. Some of them are your bosses. Some of them are the CEOs. Some of them are politicians. But they are not humans. And they are demons in the flesh. See, it doesn't matter in which appearance they come, whether they look like a reptile, a snake, a fish tail, you call them mermaid, or whatever. These are entities that are from the demonic realm that were birthed on earth. And this takes me back to a couple of years in the past when the Lord gave me a dream and I didn't understand what that dream meant at that time. It's only now that I start to understand. And in those days, the Lord showed me he showed me fallen angels. He showed me spirits appearing to women in the flesh and then mating with them, sleeping with these women. So, what does this mean? It basically means that the things that were happening in the days of Noah, angels coming down, mingling with women, forming hybrids, these things have continued and they are still happening even to this day, and especially in these days these things are happening a lot. And that's why we had Jesus saying things such as, whoever belongs to God hears what God says, and the reason you do not hear is that you do not belong to God. Why? Because things that God didn't create do not belong to Him, but belongs to their father the devil.